Don't forget to subscribe this video, activate the clock, like this video, share it and write a comment. Let's go. USMC posted by U, Commander Carfentanil 3 years ago 52. What's the craziest thing you've seen a junior Marine do? Question second LT here. So we are going to have a hip pocket class about counseling junior Marines on personal issues, and I'd like to present a list of realistic off-the-wall scenarios that junior Marines have actually gotten themselves into. What's the craziest, dumbest, or funniest thing you've seen a junior Marine do in their personal life? Stripper pregnancies are welcomed. Gavel pounder 91 3 year ago steal a grenade from a live fire range, then lets his girlfriend arm it and throw it live off base in the backyard. Posted it on the internet. This was a junior Marine of shiny collared variety. Sol a little blurry plus 13 year ago. No words. Double Darwin candidates. Ever see a shitter fly plus 3 year ago. My tinnitus is louder than you. One of my friends tased herself on a dare. Countless instances of full or partial nudity. Throwing sharp objects. Throwing sharp objects into the ceiling. Had one guy get caught red-handed committing a crime by SID and he denied it, then tried to fight them. Knock over a porta shitter with someone inside. Bunch of guys got a non-serviceable NCO sword and had a competition of who could throw it the farthest and have it stick in the grass. Flirt with and ask out the CWO's wife in front of the CWO. The guy had been in for about 4 months longer than me, but I picked up E4 before him. He was married when he joined to his trailer park sweetheart. She was overweight, dyed her naturally dirty grease blonde hair odd colors that turned out wrong every quarter. They had a baby together and she had already been known to sleep around. We get back from det and she had 2 guys shacked up with her in his house along with his friend that he moved up to NC, who was some ex-meth head and had threatened to kill himself in front of the wife and kid while we were away. She brings her favorite so to meet him. As we get off the plane, divorce papers were on the coffee table waiting for him. He doesn't immediately kick her out, because once she is gonna leave neither of the other 2 Marines she was fucking want her to move in with them, and they move on, so she was stranded. He lets her stay and tries to give her shit in the divorce even though she said she didn't want anything, not even parental rights. They go back home and get divorced and he pays off her car, but keeps the house they had bought before deployment and gets full custody of the child. She still has no place to go, so he still lets her live in the house for about 2 months until SSGT threatened to NJP him if he didn't kick her out of the house. He finally does and moves his meth head buddy back in with him and the toddler. He goes off on a week-long mission and tells his friend to feed the puppies his dog had. His buddy just puts the puppies and dog in the shed out back and never checks on them. SNM gets back home and has had a local police officer ask about getting a puppy, so he takes her around to the shed where they were at and opens up to find a number of dead dogs. He and the buddy get arrested. He gets out of the charges, but we still have his mugshot and he wanted to re-enlist but they didn't let him. Now he somehow got back into the reserves, I think because of his Snapchats. Sorry for the novel, but his whole enlistment was one gigantic joke, sob story. This only accounts a partial amount of time at the duty station. He also had stupid shit while in the schoolhouse also. Edit. Also have a good one involving a senior corporal and our sergeant major both getting kicked out if y'all want it. Reply give award share report save follow 39. Whitey 7011 had one of those bug zappers shaped like a tennis racket. Guy decided to wrap his nuts around either side to touch them together to create a nice contact. He zapped his nuts and it was hilarious. We weren't sober. IRDEGRUNT underage boot gets caught by duty with booze in the barracks. Instead of trying to persuade the duty, his first thought was throwing haymakers. Duty ain't no bitch, so PFC got his ass beat, then later that month got NJP for underage drinking. Tokyo Graphic 3 year ago stole the first SGT's peanut butter in Iraq. He got NJP'd and he had to do the worst torture work I've ever seen a human endure in the middle of also doing patrols and guard. He cleaned an entire squad-sized barracks with a toothbrush. He single-handedly filled thousands of sandbags to reinforce the camp. He burned every barrel of shit, did every working party and did every half night of watch for months. By the end, even though he was kind of a dumbass, even I felt for him. They tortured that dude in the middle of a war. War nub 3 year ago edited 3 year ago had just gotten back from deployment and had moved to nice new townhouse with wife and kid. A guy from my unit moved in with his wife right behind us. One night after we had just sat down to dinner, my wife and I could hear screams coming from the house behind us, not like regular screams that you'd hear from some chick getting banged with the windows open, which was a pretty regular occurrence around there. These were more like murderous type screams you hear in horror movies. I had been in a while at this point and my wife had pretty much seen it all living around a Marine base, so nothing was really out of ordinary to us, but this situation was a little, let's say, different. Not long after the screams started, a guy in full SWAT gear and a sniper rifle starts pounding on our door and tells us we need to leave our home right away. No questions asked, my wife runs and grabs our daughter and we drive to my buddy's house. Long story short, the guy from my unit who had just got off his first deployment decided to throw a party at his house and then get up on booze and drugs and held everyone in the house hostage, including his wife and her parents, who was the one screaming. The SWAT sniper needed our house to set up a firing position as it was directly behind his. They had SWAT teams from 2 different counties come in before it was all said and done, and the standoff lasted for 5 to 6 hours. He finally freed the hostages after his first SGT and CO came over loudspeaker and talked him out of it. I don't believe anyone was severely injured, and I honestly am not sure what happened to him after it was all said and done. No one in our unit ever really talked about it after that. Although we did have a safety brief the next day about how drugs and alcohol are bad, but no one ever really brought up what really happened. It's kind of strange how after being in a while you just get used to all the crazy bullshit, and something that would be shocking to most people is just another day when you're living around other crazy-ass Marines just like yourself. Reply give award share report save follow 12 +4 3 year ago edited 3 year ago 0621 fist get married lol. Probably craziest would be the guy who was convinced if he jumped off of 3rd deck in 29 Palms he would be okay. He was not okay. I do not remember the extent of the injuries. However, it was pretty bad. Guy landed on his side but tried to brace his fall. I will never forget that long pause, like 10 seconds after that impact sound, before he started yowling screaming. Just turned 18 19ths. More info. 2012. CommSchool. Guy was in a frock behind or in front, I do not recall which. He hung out with us, which probably means his own people shunned him. Big into Louisiana voodoo where his family was from. GFY 86 3 year ago 3 Marines all in one Portish smoking a blunt in Camp Wilson right next to the KSPANs. First sergeant caught them. Had a Marine get caught bringing coke and weed through the front gate. Later found out he was also whoring himself and his wife out on Craigslist. Getting a job next to a Taco Bell drive-through line during lunch. One of my Marines' wives saw him and called the battery office. A Marine didn't realize he had East. Kept coming to the shop for a week, only found out when we went down to DPAC because he wasn't getting paid. Marine didn't show up after a 96, said he was in a hospital in SC for a stroke. When he came back and handed in the paperwork from the hospital, he had actually OD on meth. A Marine was caught by NCIS selling SIF gear out of his trailer. Some of that gear was found on enemies in Afghanistan. Had a Sako that had stored 2 years of piss tests in his shed, and forged documents saying everything tested clean. Had a Marine that brought his PC to Best Buy to get it fixed. They found child on his PC.